Welcome to What the Co-Parent, the podcast where we talk about all things co-parenting, blended families, divorce, and separation, all while navigating the wild journey of raising kids together, apart. I'm your host, Jenn Ford, co-parenting coach and mentor, and your go-to for real talk on making co-parenting work. Today's episode is one that I've been so excited about. We've got Hope Petrow on today. She's a dating after divorce coach, and let's be real, we all need some help with this. Dating after divorce dating at all is enough of a nightmare, but after divorce or separation is even worse. So yeah, we've got Hope here to help us get started. She's going to give us some tips on crafting magnetic dating profiles and confidently attracting the right person for us when we're ready for them, of course. So let's get started. We've got a bunch of questions that you guys submitted to go over, and we're going to start with Hope giving us a bit of a background on how she stepped into this role as a dating after divorce coach.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. I actually just recently started working as a dating coach. 6 years experience working as a life coach and stress management coach for corporate teams. But I really wanted to take it into specifically dating because, I personally know how hard it was to change my mindset to be able to find someone that I could trust and really love and feel safe with. And I know how hard that is after divorce. And that's why I really wanted to create something for divorced women where they would be able to have fun again with dating.
Absolutely. I know I've started dabbling in the dating thing off and on, and Greg has too. We have our own challenges around that.
Yeah.
I think I told you in our pre-conversation how Greg has actually been told by a woman that he was talking to that we're in a small town, that he's not as desirable because he gets along too well with his ex. That's so weird. I thought that was strange. I thought my little caveat for that one, that dating and co-parenting comes with all kinds of challenges that you don't even expect are going to come out of anywhere, right?
Yeah. It's weird, but it's common. Mm-hmm. I hear it a lot about the girlfriend or the other person, going up against the baby mama and making her the bad guy. Unfortunately, is something that probably a lot of women relate to, unfortunately.
That's too bad. Yeah, ultimately, as Greg's ex and co-parent, I want him to find a person that fits the places I fell short on. And I know he feels the same way. And we're still going to be co-parenting together. We're still going to be friends. But as friends, we care about each other and we want each other to move on with a person that fits us better.
That's really beautiful of you guys. It's clear you have a great friendship. And I think a lot of people are, impressed with that because it's hard to have a good relationship with your ex.
A few exes I don't have that kind of friendship.
Yeah.
So why do you think dating feels so different after divorce rather than when we're younger? I don't know. I felt like I had more emotionally invested into dating in my younger years as I do now. But what's your take on that?
Well, I'm going to say what I see happen and personally have this issue. But for a lot of women, I believe that dating after divorce, you're used to having a certain level of connection with someone. You have certain expectations of someone because they have been your husband for years, the father of your children, possibly. So you might go into dating putting too many expectations on someone too early. That's something that I see happen a lot in women who are dating after divorce. And also you have been so many of them have just been so broken and feel so scared to trust again. Yeah. So, when you're dating, when you're young, you're going in kind of just as women, we're so often raised to kind of be the good girl and trust everyone. So that's how we start dating as kids. But then, once you are an adult who's been married and divorced and has been through things, it's just not as easy. It's just not.
No.
Yeah, I look at just dating coaches and their jobs is much easier than mine. I've been through it and, and I had success and I know what it took. Yeah.
A whole new challenge, especially when you have kids involved with it too. You have our mental and emotional barriers, being afraid of getting hurt again and just being out of patience. I think that's where I'm at in the dating as I tried it for a bit and I'm just no, don't have the patience for that. That's kind of where I stand with it. Yeah. And then guilt as a parent too. Am I still allowed to do this?
Well, you are allowed. So I want that to be 1,000% clear, because, you both as adults made a decision to move on. And, even though your plan that you raised your kids telling them that we were the family and, this is mom and dad, they're going to know that things change in life too. And it does kind of suck that they get such access to these harsh realities. I had 2 kids when I got divorced. It's hard to see how it impacts them.
Yeah. You got all their own set of emotions around it to shift over, hey?
But you still are allowed to have a life that makes you happy, because that makes you a better mom. I think you're a better mom when you're doing things for yourself, when you're doing things just because they make you happy. And, I know for me, I felt good, going out and doing fun things. And like, especially when I was first getting to know Richard, it boosted my mood. I loved everything about the process. Dating should be fun. I really, once we are ready for it, it should be fun.
Absolutely. So we just need to give ourselves permission for it, and really that's the type of self-care, to get out and socialize and reconnect with people. And I think we were always told, and as moms, I think, and now dads, single parenting dads, some of them have it. I don't think Greg had it before, but he notice it now. Taking time for self-care now is harder for him than when it was when we were married. So I don't know. There might be some men in the group who can speak to that.
Doing time for self-care is going to be hard at any point, and I think it's just so necessary, and it doesn't have to be fast and, whatever is typically considered, or meditating, doing what makes you happy. And if that's dating, then it should be no problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've kind of talked a bit about mindset there. What do you think a few of the most common mistakes parents go into dating when they're after divorce? What was a terribly worded question? I'm sorry.
What you're saying now, I understand. I think it's having too many expectations. It's not taking the time to learn how to identify what red flags and green flags really are. Because if you're going into it and you're still not 100% aware, you're going to waste a lot of time and start a lot of hurt. Number 3, I would say wasting time on getting too strong of feelings for booty calls, because that is something that I see happen a lot with divorced women, where they start having sex with a guy and it's great, it feels good, but they're putting misplaced feelings on him. And it's not feelings for him. It's possibly the feelings that you have unresolved, not for your ex anymore, but for the best version of him, the version you wish that he was. And when you're still kind of in love with that person that doesn't exist because it's not who he really is, you don't have space in your heart for someone else.
A really solid point. Yeah. And I think it's okay. I think a lot of people, you probably could speak to this more, but to have those transition people, your booty calls, after divorce, take a little purge time. And we're adults. I think that's okay to do. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, I talk to people getting out to the dating world, they're feeling guilty and dirty about it. I'm no, you're a grown woman or a grown man. Go out and have some fun and just shed your skin.
A slut face. You
Yeah. You just gotta hang it up eventually, I guess.
Yeah. And when you find one who's really the best, then maybe you want to get to know them more.
Yeah. Absolutely. You never know who you're going to trip over in your adventures, right?
But if you want to, I feel like I have to clarify, that's not something you have to do after divorce, but it's definitely something that you shouldn't let very rigid coaches or people in your life tell you not to. Because let me tell you, Jen, I already told you about this, but I actually had an encounter with a coach who, was lecturing people on maybe lecturing is a strong word, but was implying that dating too soon after divorce is negative. That's fine. I respect her. I want her to have a happy future, happy life, nothing against her, but that's how she chooses to coach. I'm never going to be that kind of person who's going to tell someone that you can't do something that you feel ready for and that you want to do. Enjoy it. And don't ignore those rigid haters.
Yes.
They still do like her and think that she's nice. I don't want to call her
We're
a rigid hater.
we're disagreeing I'm sure you and I have things that we disagree on, but we're not gonna discount each other for it, right?
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, like I think having that transition time, like you don't want to jump from one serious relationship to another very serious relationship. Giving yourself some time between to get to know yourself again, to get to know what you like, what you don't like. So, I took some of that time and I learned a lot about myself in the last year and a half, just being me. And now if the right person comes along, great, but I don't feel a need to go find that right now. I'm really okay where I am, but it took a little bit of adventuring to find those pieces for myself.
Something that you said earlier is you have to give yourself permission to do this. And that's another thing where you just have to give yourself permission because that's where you're at now. You know, when you get divorced, you have to make a lot of decisions for your own well-being. And maybe it's not what the people who used to be paramount in your life would want you to do, but do it for yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. I think taking ownership of ourselves after divorce, when you get to that place, I feel like I'm there now where I don't need to look for everyone else's permission or approval. I like where I am now and I'm good standing on my own feet. And I think that's a milestone for a lot of people that I see going through where they're before or after that.
I'm really proud of you, honestly, Jen. No.
Well, you've been a great inspiration, so.
You're so cute. Thank you. Yeah, I get it though. It's really like, you know, I think that it's amazing for you to make that choice that you're not really, you know, ready yet. I was ready so quickly after my divorce. Let me tell you, I got divorced in March of 2020. Now it was the first week of COVID lockdowns. And he finally kind of decided to let me know that he had a girlfriend. He didn't really tell me. He just kind of said, did you know that so-and-so is really good at massages? That's what he told me.
Wow. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah. And then like, you know, that like, I don't remember if it was that day or the next day he left. Like he just left. Like he literally ghosted me and kids.
Wow.
He like took his money out of the bank account. He just went to go take his new girlfriend on a vacation and left me and kids. We were almost homeless. It was a really hard and crazy and difficult time. But like I had really spent the 4 years before that very invested in my own like health and well-being. So when he left, like I was just really angry and sad for a month. And then like I had a booty call and, you know, I met Richard and it pretty much just all went down like that. Like I was ready. I told myself that I wanted to have a boyfriend before the holidays. And this was like in April or maybe May.
Oh, nice.
And I met him June 22nd. I really feel that when you manifest something, when you really want to find that pure soulmate connection and you know exactly what you're looking for, like I had a long list and, you know, I just found him like as soon as I really put my intentions towards that.
Yeah, you guys have such an incredible story. And I think you did a lot of that. Like what I did after separating with Greg, I wasn't expecting it. Where like neither of us were. It just kind of happened and we decided it needed to, right? Where before you had some time kind of before he left to process this. I think you moved on as you needed to. You already went through all that crap before he left.
Can I tell a little bit of that story?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I just want to point out really quick for anyone who watches this or is listening, like I have an autistic 3-year-old and she's with a babysitter right now. And sometimes she gets very easily triggered. So I don't want anyone to think that she's being ignored because obviously they'll probably hear her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a mom of a toddler. I'm used to that noise. Yeah. It just didn't even faze me.
So the babysitter and my husband both are taking care of her. So I just want it's hard. It's hard when you have, but it is what it is. Anyway, I am going to
You're in a good place. You're fine.
Thank you. So in 2016, I had like kind of an aha moment. It was more than an aha moment. It was him being like completely drunk, getting out a loaded gun and basically kind of demanding of attention. And it was at this party. It was like 200 people at our house. You know, it was a huge party that I had been planning for months. He got completely drunk. He destroyed our like property, because we had a big property at the time that had a stage on it. So we had 6 bands playing. It was called the Valhalla Metal Invasion. It was so important to me, this metal show that I was putting on. And his band, was Gump. But anyway, yeah, that day he wasn't getting enough attention or whatever. So he decided to do that in front of our 2 kids. And I should have left. I really, I should have, but I just, I wasn't ready. I didn't know what to do financially for myself. I didn't know how I would take care of the kids. He was threatening me that, they might not be safe if I left him. So yeah, I went into a healing journey. Did I tell you I lost 175 pounds?
I don't remember if you did or not. We talked about so much that day. That's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. So I focused on my health and I focused on myself. I gained a lot back because I've had 7 pregnancies in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
3
tough on body, especially at our age.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anyway, that's that story. So that's part of why I decided to do this. And I went on for a long time.
So I'm loving it. This is great. We're giving people, and I think sharing those times when, like, my oldest bio dad and I went through a similar mess together. But one thing that my mom mentioned to me after, like, why did I stay so long? I'd asked her, I don't understand. It's like, well, you're the frog in boiling water. Like, you get into a cool pot of water and you sit there and the temperature slowly goes up, and everyone else can see that temperature is going up. You're not listening to them. You're just trying to make it work, right? And then eventually that water's boiling and you don't even notice, right? I think that's where you and I both were in those stages.
I know what you're saying. I get it completely. And that is exactly what it's like. And I think that I was starting to realize, and then, I remember in 2016, I was like, okay, I fully know. You remember when you realized the water was boiling?
Yeah. And then you're in that, like you said, you don't know how you're going to take care of things. You don't know what you're going to do. Like, how are you going to take care of the kids? How are you going to do this? How are you going to, like, then what do you do from there? You've decided, but then you have to figure your way out, and you're almost biding your time for the right moment. But sometimes you can bide your time a little too long. I think, again, we both did that.
Yeah, we sure did.
Learn. Do as we say, not as we've done, people.
Yeah. Well, no, I think everyone's listening to this probably has their own story.
Exactly.
That's what I love about being in a group of other divorced people is they get it. That's why I didn't want to go into just being a dating coach. I wanted to be a dating coach for women who get it, who've been through it.
Yeah. You have a really fascinating niche. Just starting to, like, get into your group and learn stuff, but there's so much amazing stuff going on there. It's a little call out for you now, actually, while we're in here. If you're a woman, or if these stories are resonating with you, we'll have the link to Hope's group, so you can jump in there. I have my What the Co-Parent group as well. That's for men and women. So Greg and I are both in there, kind of coaching and helping each gender-ish. Like, some men jump into my stuff and some women jump into his stuff, but generally we split the fees on that one. And then Hope has a gift for you guys.
I do.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. Like, how do you build your, like, that you talked about how you manifested Richard. So let's jump into that. You could tell a bit about it.
So you know what, you guys, like, a couple of months before my ex left, but I knew, like, I knew it was inevitable, right? I was still so angry and upset when it happened, but I knew it was inevitable. So I started writing this list, right? And it was long. I wrote down every single thing that I wanted in a partner. And I was very detailed. I wanted, tall, long hair as far as looks, and handsome face. And I wanted him to have a safe white collar profession because I had been with someone who was in construction for a long time. And I always hated the fact that he would be in very dangerous situations and I would have to worry about his safety. So I did not want that. I wanted someone who, like, worked from home, ideal. I wanted someone who was always able to make me laugh, someone who understood me. I wanted someone who was also vegetarian. That's very, like, that was a very specific thing that I wanted. Richard is pescatarian, so he eats fish. And, like, I started eating fish too. So
cool.
Yeah. So I just, like, I knew exactly what I wanted. And because I knew exactly what I wanted, I didn't waste any time with anything less. So if, a guy was interested in me or I matched with someone, as soon as I realized that they weren't exactly what I wanted, I just stopped talking to them. And look, I know that's controversial. Because especially men, they get very upset when they hear that. They get very defensive, like I'm insulting them, but I don't care.
They're not wasting your time. Like, really, like, I don't want my time wasted. If somebody wasn't interested in me and I was looking for somebody like that person, like, yeah, don't waste my time, please. Just,
I fear that a lot of women are in a state when they're shortly after divorce where they believe that this is maybe they're not going to find exactly what they want, or maybe they're thinking that they don't deserve exactly what they want. That's something that a lot of women are going through.
sad, but so true. Like, people settle. Like, you think, well, I'm not a catch anymore. I'm like, I've already failed at 1 or 2 marriages, so I just settle for this. And you just, yeah,
that's wrong, right? Everyone listening to this who might possibly think that they aren't good enough to get exactly what they want, you are good enough for exactly what you want. We will be realistic. If you're someone who doesn't eat well, you can't ask for someone who is like a buff, like gym person. I'm not saying doesn't eat well, because we're all going to have ice cream and cheesecake sometime. But I'm saying like you don't prioritize health at all, and you go with someone who highly prioritizes it, you guys might not have a good, connection. So what happens then is you recognize that the man that you want, right? This man that you've written down in your perfect partner blueprint, which again is my free gift. This is every single thing that you want in a man. Okay. You have to look at that list and you have to ask yourself, what does he want in a woman? Once you know, then that's who you have to be. If this is the man that you want, then you need to show up as the woman that he wants. And, that's what I'm teaching women to do in my course, Magnetic Confidence, because I want you to have your perfect partner, your ultimate true soulmate connection, the one that's going to be with you for your entire life. But he has to love you first. So you have to love yourself. And in order to love yourself and be able to show up as someone who you want to be seen as, we have to work on your confidence. That's why I call it Magnetic Confidence.
That's wonderful. I'm so excited about your course.
Yeah. It's up. It's ready. I've only posted about 4 hours of videos, but the rest of it, well, maybe 5 hours of videos, but the rest of it is bonus lessons. So that's coming soon. But yeah, pretty much all done. There's over 40 pages of worksheets and 8 lessons all posted. I think I'm pretty excited about it.
We'll take a quick little break here to remind you to grab Hope's gift for our listeners, the Perfect Partner Blueprint. You can grab it from the link in the description or go to hopepetrow.com/gift. Also, her course, Magnetic Confidence, is live and at a huge discount for a limited time. So go grab that now at hopepetrow.com. That's HOPEPETROW.com. And as always, you can grab our free gifts for our listeners and tons of other info at whatthecoparent.com. Now let's get back to Hope and the Q&A portion of this episode.
So we're back from our adventure yesterday. I'm excited. We were on fire yesterday. We were having so much fun. And yeah, I didn't take into account that we gobbled up so much time with our tech issues. I'm so thankful that my day-home provider is so forgiving. Yesterday, we were ready to jump into Q&A, and then I remembered that, my day-home provider reminded me that I need to pick up my child.
It is a blessing that she's so close.
Oh, I know. She's fabulous. Then will drag me in the house sometimes. Let's go, Mom. Hurry up.
I love that. That's such a good sign that you know that she's still safe and she's well taken care of.
Yeah.
I love that.
We're pretty... I know, it's our favorite part. We're so excited. Okay. I've got the notes open for that. So whenever you're ready, we'll just jump right in there.
The first question that we had submitted to us.
Dating apps, right? There's so many out there, and some of them, I've got onto a few, and I'm just like, no, I'm way too old for this shit. This is your area of expertise. So the question was, there are so many dating apps, I don't even know which to choose.
Yes. Okay. That is a great question. So the truth is that most people are on all the dating apps anyway. So you're going to find that if you download another dating app, you're already just seeing the same people. So this is what I suggest. I think you should pick 2 dating apps. It doesn't really matter which ones. Hinge, Coffee Meets Bagel. I met my husband on Tinder. So
Coffee bagel?
dating apps. One where you make your main location the city that you live in, and one where you make your main location another city that's like, say, 2 hours away from you. So, and then switch it out each week so it stays fresh. And this way you can, meet the people in your city and the people a couple hours away because, especially if you're living in a smaller town, most of us that are divorced got stuck in the suburbs. So having, your range be a little bit further on the other app is going to help you meet more people. But ultimately, don't let yourself get hung up on which dating app to choose because it's never going to be about which app you downloaded. It's always about the vibe that you put of yourself onto that dating app. So, I've had clients come to me to look at their dating profiles. And one was so funny because she was like this really beautiful, only about 35, very interesting, well-educated woman. But she presented herself with only bathroom mirror selfies where she was scowling and, just a lot of bad energy, acting like dating was a chore. So when you go onto a dating app, you really want to have a good vibe. And I actually put together ways to improve your dating profile. I made a little list here for us.
Oh,
So if you don't mind, Jen, I'll go over some tips that I have that are going to help you to improve your dating profile.
I think it's a great strategy because there might be some questions that come up through that or questions that are answered with that. This is awesome. Yeah, so, go for it, man.
Actually, someone submitted a question to us where they asked, why am I not getting any connections? It feels like people are just judging me because of my looks and they're swiping left right away. And the truth is that is very common. That's something that's going to happen a lot is people just look at your picture and they don't take the chance to read your bio. So we have to think about that. We have to make your pictures really represent who you are. If you have a lot of interest, like say you love to play hockey, take pictures of yourself playing hockey. Or let's say there's a very interesting statue that your grandfather helped build. You could take a picture next to that. Take pictures that really shine your personality because then people aren't just looking at you for how you look. They're looking at you for, common interests. They're saying, oh my gosh, he's into hockey. I love hockey. I'm going to connect with this guy. Generally, I work with women, but it was a man who asked the questions. I'm answering in that way, but this is going to work for women too. In my dating profile, I had pictures of myself hiking because that's something really important to me. And I had pictures of myself at a concert because I'm really into live music. So just pictures that show your personality and also an engaging bio. Have you ever seen, Jen, the bios that are just so boring? They say things like, I love to travel or, I
don't know how to start a conversation with that. And you might be cute, but you don't look very interesting. I'm not going to go put myself out there to talk to you.
Where do you go with this? It's just very difficult. So we don't want to have those kind of bios. We want to have bios that spark up conversations. So instead of to travel, write something like, I love new experiences. And last year I went to Italy and ate my weight in pasta with an Italian family. Or I hiked in the Faroe Islands and where should I go next? So, really things that are engaging and prompt conversation, something where a man can look at your bio and instantly have something to go off of wow, I love Italy too. I love pasta. Let's go on a pasta date.
Nice. And I think having that question, we know that as content creators, putting a question there that invites people to reply, right?
Exactly. So instead of I love gardening, you can say, these are my favorite flowers that I planted this year. What should I plant next? very simple. You can always just take that extra moment to revise it, even pop it into like ChatGPT. How do I make an engaging bio? Take what you have and say, make this engaging. I love ChatGPT because I brain dump in there. So I just put all my ideas, all my thoughts, and I say, okay, now help me turn this into something interesting. So that's something you can do. Another thing is to show, don't tell, because I see a lot of bios that say, I'm adventurous or I'm funny. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not laughing. So if you want to say you're funny, just crack a joke. Or if you want to say you're adventurous, talk about some really great experiences that you've had. And also to be very, very honest about what you want. Have you ever dated someone, Jenn, where you're just like, they weren't clear with you about what they wanted, or maybe they hid things about themselves? That's the word.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when you think you're getting into one thing and it's like completely different. Or they say they want one thing, but then why are you wasting my time? That's how I feel when I'm
wasting time. I went on 2 dates with a guy before I met my husband and found out by looking him up on social media that he had freaking 6 kids. I wouldn't have expected it at all because he was younger than me. Like, he seemed to have, like, I was shocked. So obviously not even a good father, probably just,
Yeah, that's one thing. If you have 6 kids and you're an active parent, awesome. That's attractive. If you have 6 kids that you
lie
about. Father of 6 who's active and engaged, that's attractive for sure, but not one who's not paying attention to their kids and spending more time on a dating profile than parenting.
That's when I was making mistakes, Jenn. I have to tell you, I made a fair share of mistakes before I kind of really set my intention to finding a husband. I really decided I didn't want to mess around. I wanted to find someone I was going to spend my whole life with, but I made my fair share of mistakes before that.
But you learn from those mistakes and you're bringing them back to help others learn.
Yes.
Yeah. Your mistakes are helping you teach others better. So that's great.
Thank you. Next is to highlight what makes you unique, and just be enthusiastic about it. Because, so many people feel like they have to kind of hide their nerdy qualities because they don't want to be judged for it. But I say put them out there and highlight them, because authenticity is sexy. Even if you meet someone who's not necessarily into all the same little random hobbies and interests you have, they're going to be impressed with your passion. I'll tell you, Jenn, I don't know if I told you this before, like, I'm obsessed with folk metal. Yeah. Like this is Tyr, Tyr. I don't know if you can see me right now. You couldn't see me yesterday.
Yeah.
I was showing you my Tyr tattoo because they're my favorite band. I'm super obsessed with them. And like, I'm not afraid to flaunt that.
Yeah.
So my husband, when he met me, of course, he never heard of them, but now they're his favorite band too. And like, he loves the fact that like I'm goofy and like super obsessed with the things that I love.
Perfect. Yeah. That's awesome. And like, that's neat. Like, if he didn't even know that was out there, and then how can he know if he likes it or not? So learning, anytime we make a relationship, a friendship, a dating, anything, you get to learn little pieces and adopt little pieces from that person.
Exactly. The last thing that I put on here in my list, reasons or ways to improve your dating profile is don't be vague, boring, but most especially do not be negative. I want to just tell you, for anyone who wants to know about red flags in dating profiles, negativity is probably number one. If they're talking badly about their ex, if they're saying, oh, I don't want any short girls, or just anything where they're putting people down or bragging, red flag, swipe left. Yes. Well,
perfect.
Awesome. Good. Well, that's my list. So we'll move on to the next one.
We should turn that into a handout.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think some of it's in your freebie. Like some of those tips I recognize from going through your freebie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we'll make sure the link's in the comments if you want to grab Hope's freebie for I'm sorry, I've forgotten the title of it again.
It's called The Perfect Partner Blueprint.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you exactly what you want and need in a partner so that you don't waste any time dating someone who's not going to make you happy and not the type of person that you're going to be able to spend the rest of your life with.
I I went through it and like, this is rad. Everyone going into the dating world, divorced or not, needs to go through that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I told you I made it because I was so picky. I knew exactly what I wanted. And once I knew what I wanted and I looked for it, I manifested it. I found him almost right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the point you made yesterday about like, yeah, so figure out who you want. And then also take a minute to do some self-reflection on what kind of person will that person want. Like what areas do you already shine in, or what areas do you maybe need to brush up a bit, right? Like I'm a disorganized mess all the time. So that's something I know I need to work on for myself, with someone coming into my life.
Yeah.
That's going to drive them nuts, right? Like it drives me nuts. So that's like something that I think I need to work on before I bring somebody else into my life. But before we jump down that rabbit hole, do you have any other comments for that one?
Yeah. And yeah, that's exactly it, is when you see the kind of person that you want and you know what they're going to be looking for, you can reflect on the kind of person they'll need, then you can show up as that person. It's going to motivate you to make the changes that you might need to make in order to heal and be ready for something.
I don't want to suggest that you need to change for somebody, but like you said, the changes that you need to heal, the changes that you maybe already want to make in your life. Like I want to become a better organized person. So I know that's something I want to work on. So I attract somebody who supports that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just something, if there are things you don't want to change about yourself, then you just have to reflect on the kind of person that you want to be with that's going to love you for exactly that.
Exactly.
There were certainly things I wasn't willing to change about myself. Like, even with I wanted a family, and that was really important to me. So it's not something where I was going to date a guy who didn't want to have more kids.
Yeah. That's your deal breaker.
Yeah. You just have to pick it for yourself. You're so right that you should never have to change for someone, but you're not changing for someone because until you meet him, he doesn't, he's not real yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the figurative, like,
yeah. He's real out there somewhere. But when I wrote this list and I thought about who I needed to be in order to meet Richard, he was still like my fictional imagination of Richard.
Like even just in the way you titled that guide, like it's a blueprint.
Yeah.
Like when you make a blueprint for a house or for a plan, it's a plan. Like there's going to be changes and tweaks along the way, but you want to stick to the core of like the skeleton of that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, everyone should get it. I'm excited for it. I have a lot of I have hopepetro.com/store has a lot of guides that can help women in the dating space. Yeah,
I love you. I've been poking around a bit on there. I need to you need to dig deeper a bit. Should we move on to our next question?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one here I have on our notes is the biggest online dating struggle. So the question here is, the biggest issue I see with online dating is both sides have unrealistic expectations. People swipe left on anyone who's not a perfect 10. Wait, isn't this the one we just covered?
I brought up this question while I was answering the other question.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate, make your pictures show your personality.
Yeah.
That's really the way. Don't worry about how you look. Still show up 100% authentic. Over filtered pictures get almost always swiped on. Yeah. I'm sorry, but guys know, and maybe in 2018 you could get away with filtering your pictures a lot, but we can't do that anymore. So we need to show up as ourselves, like it or not, because we don't want to waste time texting anyway. We want to get right into meeting, and he's going to see you anyway, real life.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to tell you really quick, Jen, that when I first downloaded Tinder, I did this. Okay. So just so people know that I really did only face pictures, totally posed, and not wanting to show that I was heavier. Even though I was thinner then because I hadn't had 3 babies after 40, but I wasn't comfortable showing my body. That, I realized I can just update the pictures when I lose weight. My first thought was that, they should get to know me and then they'll like me, and then they won't be totally disgusted when they find out that, I'm overweight. But that was an unhealed thought. That was a thought of a person that didn't have self-love. Yeah. So if you're still kind of thinking that you're not good enough to show up as yourself, then we still have some healing and confidence building work to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very solid point. Yeah, I'm glad That way, I thought I messed up our notes, but yeah, we double answered.
No,
So that was our guy friend's question, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think dating standards have, I don't know. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here. I think
That's okay.
about how I was dating before kids and even before my first daughter, because I had a little bit of a single time between Ryan and meeting Greg, or Greg and I reconnecting, right? And how much my standards have changed, like how much less I'm willing to settle.
And that's
Okay.
being healed.
Yeah.
You know, someone who doesn't have self-confidence and doesn't believe that they deserve the best, someone who, and it's not their fault. You know, most of these divorced women have faced like massive oppression. You know, someone constantly putting them down. That's why we know healing again is that first step, because it's hard getting out there and believing that if you say no to 10 guys who like you and are love bombing you, you might think, oh, well, I'll never do better. But you can say no to those guys because they're not good enough.
Yes.
They're not. You are going to get your perfect partner. That's why we need to know exactly who he is before we waste time.
No settling.
You know, the first piece of dating advice that I ever gave is a friend of mine was talking about all the guys on the dating app, and I said, start swiping on only 10s. And I know this is like, I don't mean 10s. Keep in mind that that's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
Only guys who, when you look at them, you smile.
Yeah.
Someone who their picture makes you smile, you relate to it, you understand it, you feel it. And if you're not getting that energy, even from a picture, move on.
Yeah. Now you want to get that in, like, I think you can look through a few pictures, of course, but when I look at somebody, I want to see kind eyes. That's one thing. Like, I want to be able to, I need to have that comfortable eye contact. And sometimes I look at pictures when I was doing the dating thing. I'm starting to consider getting back into it after our conversations here. But yeah, I want to see a good connection with their eyes. Like, that's something that's a big.
It's so true. That's one of the things I want to tell you really quick about that girl who I gave that advice to a while back. She's married now. So she was her success story. But with kind eyes, and my freaking light just went off, so it's all dark in here. That was one of the first things that I noticed about Richard. People used to say about my ex that he looked like the devil. Because he had like these really sharp eyebrows, and he was a death metal singer. All right, well, hopefully that answers that question.
Well, our next question, and this is one that I think you and I both feel pretty passionate about, is how long should you wait to date? And we covered this a bit in our discussion yesterday, but I think it's a good one to reiterate. So our question is, how long after divorce did you all wait before dating? I feel like it's going to take me a long time to figure myself out in this post-divorce life. And I think we agreed that that's different for everybody, and it's okay, right?
Number one, you need to be able to talk about your ex without sounding like you're giving a TED Talk on betrayal.
Yeah.
I can't believe how many women I interact with that say they're ready to start dating again, but 80% of their conversation topics are putting down their ex or everything terrible that their ex did. And that's valid. It is valid and it's true, but until you're ready to accept that and focus not on your difficult past, but on your happy future, you're probably ready to date. However long that is, going to be different for everyone.
Yeah, like some people are ready right away.
Yeah.
And some people aren't. And it's okay. Like whatever fits for you, as long as you're in a place where you're not still in a heavy healing zone. And I want to add too, like this applies to men and women. Like when Greg and I separated, it kind of came out of nowhere to me, and I was angry for a while. But he was right. Like he made the best decision for us individually, us as a family, and for the kids to ask for a separation. I thank him for it now, but at the time I was mad, and I had to wait until I was done being mad before I could move on with a lot of things. And he had to do some healing before he got back in the dating world. But I think it's important that we don't trash talk each other to anybody, not to the kids, not even to our family members. We're still a really cohesive co-parenting unit. And whether or not you're in that situation with your ex, like I have another ex that I don't get along with well, but I don't spend time in conversations with friends or in dating conversations venting about him. It's not worth my breath, for one. I'm going to spend time with that person having quality conversations and learning about them.
Exactly. Yes, I completely agree. And I'm glad for that's how you were able to meet Greg, is you were able to get over that first ex and move on. You and him have an amazing co-parenting unit. I can't even imagine. I have to tell you that you're very lucky. You know, the I talk to a lot of women about co-parenting, and I always suggest that they talk to you, because the one blessing that I had in my divorce is that, and it wasn't really a blessing, it was sad, but he just gave up on being a parent. So I got full custody and I never had to be a co-parent. I just was a parent.
That was my first situation. Like he just disappeared. He fought for a while and then he just gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a blessing in a lot of ways, but it was hard on Ryan for a lot of years, and she has reconnected with them, and that's a discussion for another day. Like Greg is her dad. Greg is the dad that he grew up with, and he still has like 50-50 custody of her. So when he separated, he made it very clear, Ryan is still my daughter. Still, like, I know you, at the time, legally he didn't say anything, but legally he has guardianship now. So I would like all three girls to come 50-50. So he made that very clear right from the start. I can't stress how grateful I am to have that. And I know that, like, we joke, and friends tell us, you guys are co-parenting unicorns. And well, maybe, but we don't expect people to get to the point where we're going on family vacations together still, but we're separate. We're our own people taking our kids. And we hope that when other people come into our lives, that yes, we might have to take a step back from each other in our friendship, but we hope that we can still do things together as a blended family like that, like have Christmases together as a blended family. But we also know that despite this being our situation, it's not going to be everybody's situation. And if we just hope that if people can take a few little crumbs of what we have and implement it in their situation, that's a win for us. That's what we're aiming for.
I love, and I think it's so much better. Like, Richard is that kind of person where I know that if anything ever happened in our relationship, which it won't, but I know that he will always want to be a father to my kid, my older kid. He always will be a father to my older kids, and such a blessing. Yeah.
I'm so happy for you guys. You guys have such a great story. I hope that I can model that in the next level of my...
Yeah, he's everything I was looking for. He's the best.
I love seeing your post about it too. So I hope it inspires, watching Hope's story inspires everyone looking towards dating and finding that person. So.
Yeah. Just figure out who your person is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, he takes me on dates every Saturday. He always makes sure I get enough sleep at night, so he gets up with the babies like half the time. Yeah. I don't want to brag when I talk about him, but he's very brave.
You should brag. You guys, you deserve. And I think hearing your story with Richard, I think that should be an inspiration for other people, like who are in, maybe you've just divorced, or maybe it's just coming up, or maybe you've been divorced a while and just getting back into dating, seeing that you can still have a happy ending.
Oh yeah.
Like, look at you guys. You got that. So why can't, like, if you guys can do it, we can all do it too.
He had a very hard ex as well.
Yes.
He was, they never got married, but he was in a relationship for 13 years. And she did a lot. She was very, I want to say bad things about my ex, but his was even worse to him. Wow. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but he is the kind of person where in our entire relationship, he's never said a bad word about her. He's never said a single negative thing about her. And I'm only saying this because she has stalked me and approached me and, sent me 40-page texts of just absolute craziness.
Wow.
He's not the kind of person like that is going to say bad things about her. He's just going to say, I'm really sorry that happened. Yeah. Can you please block her and let's move on.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
And that's great. You're going to stew in the poo. I mean, you guys could have spent days venting and being grumpy about it, but no, let's just park that bus, block it, and bless and release. Bless and release.
There's nothing we could do about it, It's sad. Because she really kind of made really bad choices for herself after their breakup, and her life's in a very sad point right now. But there's nothing I can do,
It's not your circus, not your monkeys.
Yeah. Once you're having that second relationship after divorce, second marriage, they're probably going to have baggage too. You have to be able to, see how they deal with it to gauge how they're going to be as a person, and just accept it and be supportive
I think that leads really nicely into our next question about trust issues and emotional barriers. So, like, how do you learn to trust again after divorce? So the question that we got was trust, or no, that's your answer. Sorry, how do you trust again?
So trust starts with yourself. You have to be able to completely trust your instincts, and that's really hard because if you picked someone who hurt you, someone who left you, then you will start to question your own instincts. So start with small things where you keep your word to yourself. Like, I commit to taking a 30-minute walk every day, and then do that for a couple of weeks. And just these little things where you're keeping your word to yourself and you're building that trust back into your own self, you're going to realize that you can, trust yourself to make good choices and, recognize someone that is trustworthy, because there's a lot of little ways that, especially men kind of let you know if they're going to have massive red flags or massive green flags. Like the red flags, they're very, very good at hiding. If manipulators were obvious, many of us wouldn't have had a first marriage.
Yep.
So looking for the red flags is one thing, but you have to really look for the green flags, the little things that show you this is a good person, those kind eyes. I remember Richard on our first date, we were walking somewhere and he just picked up a piece of trash off the ground and he threw it away. And it's such a little, he didn't even think about it, but I just remember being like, just little things that they do about their personality, being kind to the waiter, patient in stressful situations, not reacting with anger, are things that manipulators are not going to be able to do. Narcissists are not going to be able to have these genuine, kind moments where you're starting to see them for who they really are. They're going to try to hide it and they're going to love bomb you. So you have to look past that.
Little things, like picking up trash, like that shows so much, like respect for his environment, respect for his community.
Well, yeah, it really does. And I'm someone, I was raised in a difficult situation. I was raised by a dad who was never really around and a very narcissistic mother. So, and then my ex was a mess. Yeah. So like, I never in my life had someone who was, I don't want to say smarter than me, but I've always been the responsible one. I was growing up, I was responsible for my mom and helping her. I felt more like I was her caretaker. And I was that way with my ex. He was never like a partner to me. And Richard was the first person where when he spoke, I had so much respect for him. And he's the first person in my life where I feel like I can come to him for advice and I can like know that he'll make the right decision. I don't have to be the one that's always making the final decision and pushing and nagging to be responsible, because he just is responsible.
Yeah. Not holding up all the pillars. Yeah. Like you guys are holding the pillars together.
Yes. It's just a blessing. Yeah. So that's not related to the question, but once you start realizing that this is a person who you respect, really tap into that, that gut feeling that you're having about this person, because it's going to tell you so much.
Yeah. I think that did help answer your question, answer the question. Like you started with like learning little ways to trust yourself. Like, so commit to something and prove to yourself that you can do it to help build your trust. And then like watching for those green and red flags, especially the green flags. I think that was a good answer. If again, anyone listening or watching, if anything needs to be clarified, please reach out to us or comment in the comments here or the group chat. We got a couple more. This one is one that I think a lot of people, especially my niche, because I'm co-parenting, right? For dating with kids. So question, I've dated a guy who was great to me, but after 2.5 years, he never made an effort to bond with my kids. Should I only date people who already have kids? And I think there's a few questions, like sub-questions to this one I'd like to add after.
Okay, absolutely. So I do think it's not necessarily someone with kids, but 2.5 years, that's a long time to invest in someone who doesn't make an effort with your kids. So we want to start looking early, because if first, second date, he's not asking you questions about the number one most important thing in your life. He doesn't care getting to know you. Really, a guy should be asking you about your kids, wanting information, conversational about your kids from date number one.
Yeah.
And if he's not, block, move on. We're not wasting time with guys who don't want to know about our kids. Right away, he should be asking you at least little things like, why do you want to become a mother? That doesn't necessarily mean he has kids of his own. Richard did not have kids when I met him. Now he has a lot of kids because I got a little overboard and getting pregnant.
They're adorable though.
They are. I love them a lot. They're a lot of work, but they're adorable. But he did ask me about my kids right away. He was very interested in getting to know them. And, he's someone who took care of, it's kind of hard to describe his relation. It was his ex's grandchild. She had a grandchild at a very young age, but he took care of that child, every weekend. So he was very familiar with caretaking. But the ultimate answer is if he's not showing interest in your kids, he's not showing interest in you, block and move on.
Yeah, he's just, yeah. And like, they don't have to show, I think, a crazy interest, but even just asking, like, so what did you do with your kids this weekend? Like, stuff like that. Like, yeah, they don't have to be like, well, what are their zodiac signs? Like, they don't have to dive too deep, but showing some interest, I think, is important.
We have to recognize when it maybe is a little creepy.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to have that. At least he should, if he's trying to get to know you, he's going to ask you about the most important thing in your life, which is your children. And if he's not asking about your children, he's not trying to get to know you.
And I think like Greg and I, we had once we started like settling into our co-parenting situation and rebuilding our friendship, that was something that came up because like we were both, when we came back as friends, we were already both dating a little bit, and he brought it up first, but I just kind of assumed, well, yeah, why would either of us do this without talking to the other? We agreed that we will not bring somebody else into the kids' lives without first introducing them to each other. And I think that's again a unique situation for us because I wouldn't go to my oldest bio dad and expect the same from him. What I do with my time is none of his business now.
Yeah.
But because of the situation Greg and I have, I think it's valid there, but I don't want other people to think, well, I have to get my ex's permission. If you guys don't have a good co-parenting situation and friendship situation, if you're carrying most of the weight parenting those kids, then that's up to you, I would say. And here I'm answering the question. I'm sorry.
I think I did give my answer on that question, that if he's not showing interest in your kids right away, he's not the one. I think that is pretty simple because if you're a mother, what's really more important?
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
And if he doesn't care about literally the most important things in your life, he doesn't care about you. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think one of the sub questions I wanted to add there was like, when do you bring your kids into it? Like when do you feel that, I guess, that period of time where you get to a person to decide if he's okay to introduce to your kids or she's okay to introduce to your kids?
So when it comes to introducing your kids, I think when you are planning to have a long-term relationship with this person, and that could be in, a month and a half, or it could be in a year, but you're both committed and planning on staying in each other's lives and being a bigger part of each other's lives, then you want to do something very light. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. Just go out for ice cream or a meetup at the park, not more than an hour for the first, meeting. Don't plan a whole day high pressure thing and talk about it with your kids like too much. My kids, because my kids were teenagers. So when Richard met them, they were 12 and 14. So I was like, hey, we're just going to go to, what was it called? Some Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, and we're going to shop at thrift stores, and that was fun for them. And it was an hour, and he bought them a couple little things, and they were happy and very light, very easy.
I would agree with that. Like from where my niche stands, co-parenting, I always suggest that when you do decide to introduce somebody, bring them in slowly and like little micro visits, like the ice cream and your thrift shopping dates. Like just slowly bring them in and don't make it heavy. Don't make it a big deal. Like, oh, you're gonna meet my new boyfriend, girlfriend. Just like, we're gonna go hang out with one of my friends at the park and just slowly bring that in.
Yeah. And I'm not the type of person that really hides anything from my kids or any fault. I blab everything out. So I tell my kids honestly, like, I'm dating this person. I like him. If I'm not putting a lot of pressure, like he's going to be your dad, or you don't want to tell them, get them overwhelmed.
Yeah, and I think, well, you're the age that your kids were. Like for when I start dating again, or as I have told Ryan, yeah, I'm going on a date. And Varen sometimes knows, well, dad's going on a date. Well, why are we here tonight? Well, dad has a date tonight. And she's not too impressed about it.
Yeah.
He's the kid in our group, she's one of a child that does not want us dating. She still hasn't accepted everything, but she will. And she's okay with it. We're honest with her. But like, I wouldn't, yeah, I think the age, you need to choose what's age appropriate and work from there, I think. So I think for Brian's age and for the age that your children were when you met Richard, you need to be honest, open, because they're going to be pissed at you if you hide it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. And there's no point in that. So that was the first time that they officially met Richard, but they did unofficially meet. We had an issue where after one of our sleepovers, and he was there in the morning, I had the kids with a sitter, and the sitter had been trying to text me that she needed to go do something way earlier than expected. So just dropped off the kids and he was there. But if something like that ever happens to anyone else, don't make a huge big deal out of it. I literally just said, hey, this is my friend, he just came over, we're about to go get bagels. Yeah. And then I went and got bagels with him, and I came back alone and brought the kids bagels, and they didn't have to know he spent the night.
Yeah, exactly. He came over for morning coffee, right? Yeah. And sometimes the best laid plans don't always go as planned. You got to work with it. Just don't, like you said, don't make a big deal of the situation. Don't overreact. And I'll move on to our next one.
Yes.
Okay. So our next one here, I think this is our last one, unless you have some extras. I think you had a few written down. But so most guys I've talked to on dating apps, so this one's about conversations and messaging on dating apps. Most guys that I've talked to in dating apps can't carry a conversation. I'm always the one coming up with topics and just getting one-word answers.
All right. There's a very simple way to deal with these guys who are just saying things like okay and cool. Immediately block.
They're not going to be good conversation over dating.
Immediately block.
Yeah.
And it comes back to these women who feel afraid to let go of connections because they have confidence issues and they're worried that they won't meet another cute guy who likes them. He doesn't really like you if he's giving one-word answers, because the best dating advice I've ever heard is if he wanted to, he would. It's true. If he was really interested, and it's not you personally, sometimes you might meet a guy and he's cute and he's interesting and you have everything in common and you're charming to him, but he doesn't like you because you look like his aunt that was mean to him when he was a kid.
That's completely out of your control.
Ever. You don't know him. You're not going to get to know him. Just
absolutely. Yeah. Okay. That's again with the not settling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the questions that I had put here are, what are the green flags, red flags in someone's profile? But I did answer that.
Yeah, I love that too. Like just the visual of the green flag, red flag in my head. That's a good one.
Let's see. One that I liked was, how do I shake off the nerves and just enjoy dating?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So make it fun. Because we spent so much time with our ex and we never got to go out. And mostly if the marriage is over, you didn't do a whole lot of fun things during your marriage. But what can you do now that you didn't get to do before? You can, go to concerts. You can, go on hiking trails. I'm just telling you stuff that I love. Do things that you love and that you want to do, and make getting to know a new person part of that. Do something a little more fun than just meeting up for coffee. Maybe you can do an escape room. Those are really fun. Or check out a museum, or let's see, I have a list of like 50 date ideas. You could take
kayaking.
Was that?
When I've tried to drag dates out on kayaking. I haven't been successful yet, but I don't see kayak. Let's go.
See, that's so good. Just try to make a list for yourself of like 10 things that you've always wanted to do, and they're accessible. They're not. It's not like you always wanted to go to Europe. Like, great, but maybe you can't have kids. Like, but things that you can do in a day. Yeah. When Richard and I first met, and I swear this was the biggest green like flag just ever. I told him that I love making lists, right? So he said he wanted to make a list of dates we could go on together. I was like so in love with him.
That's
instantly. But yeah, so then we made this really long list. Like I really went for it. I mean, I put 50 things on that list and we're still doing some of those things.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and it can just be little things like bowling and stuff, but things that you want to do that make it fun and just having another person there that you're getting to know is the side benefit.
Absolutely.
One more quick thing I'm going to put into
Mhm.
that is a great idea for first dates is dates where you're involved in an activity, but you're not necessarily just looking at each other talking. Like when you go out to a restaurant, you're just sitting across from each other trying to figure out what to say. But if you do something like go to a cooking class, you're both doing the cooking class together and then you're creating an experience and a memory together. So try to do things that are experiences more than just stumbling over your words in a conversation across the table from each other.
That is such a good point. I think a dating class would be so much fun as a first date because you're gonna see a lot of how they handle stress and organization and all the things.
Exactly.
My date will be leaving. He'd be like, this chick's a mess.
That's all right. I think you'll be surprised to find out that guys are a little less interested in you, or a little out in me, interested in our fact that you're disorganized. I don't think that's what you think.
I was poking fun at it, but yeah.
Quick question I got this morning, and then I know my husband is going to want me to come and help with these babies.
Okay.
This is, I feel like I need to lose 20 pounds before I start dating.
I felt that. I've so felt that. I'm just starting to drop the weight after Devin.
You can lose 20 pounds if you want, but if you feel ready to date and you're using that as an excuse not to, or you're happiness is not a destination. Happiness is a choice. So saying that I'll be better when I lose 20 pounds or I will find someone when I do this is just preventing yourself from finding the kind of thing that you want.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, nothing is going to build confidence over when you find a man that loves you for you. And he does not care about your 20 pounds. He does not care about your tiger stripes on your side from giving birth. He doesn't care. I mean, everyone in 600-pound life has a man. No offense, but don't worry about the extra weight that you might have. Just go out there and have fun and lose weight in the process if you want, but don't let it stop you.
I think that's a solid.
Yeah. A relationship does not care about those flaws because a man who's ready to be with a woman is going to know that she comes with some flaws. And, when you have vows, it's for thick and thin. So sometimes you're going to be thick and sometimes you're going to be thin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like I let go of that wanting to lose my weight.
What's that?
Once I let go of like, well, I need to lose weight before, and I allowed myself just to be me and have fun. Well, then as I was doing that, then I started losing the weight. When I started making it a pressure, it was a milestone I had to hit.
Well, you mentioned that you also have ADHD. I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid. And I think that I have an overeating, as part of it. It's just something where I'll mindlessly eat. A lifelong battle. But again, the man who's right for you and ready for a relationship is going to love you despite your lifelong battles. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think you're hinting you need to go, Richards. Is that what I picked up there?
He does have a deposition at noon. So
yeah.
I'm going to go.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks for the patience. We went through a big learning curve together yesterday.
Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate your support as we shape out what the co-parent X's to allies. I want to mention that although Hope is a dating coach for women, most of her advice and resources easily apply to men as well. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you grab Hope's gift for our listeners, the Perfect Partner Blueprint. You can grab it from the link in the description or go to hopepetrow.com/gift. And her course, Magnetic Confidence, is live at a huge discount, so you can grab that now too. Hope Petrow is HOPEPETROW.com. And as always, you can grab our free gifts for our listeners and tons of other info at whatthecoparent.com. We'll see you next time.